panels discussing with our community activists, social justice leaders, clergy, ex-offenders, as well as family representatives that are talking about these issues. And I could not say enough about the wealth of expertise and experience that we have on the panel today. However, given the sensitivity of this subject matter and due to our time constraints, we are asking that you hold your questions until the end if you have any, and we can make sure that we follow up with them. Rainbow Push seeks to not only look for equity and equality and justice for all, however, we are also continued with this discussion going forward, even after today. So this is a call to action. I want you to get your notepads out because you do not want to miss any of this information. I'm going to introduce our moderator today. Her name is Mrs. Sabrina T. Gallion, and she is the founder of Women Charged Up Group. So she is going to talk with our panelists, and without further ado, Mrs. Gallion.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Kalana. Let's get right to it. So the first person I'm going to talk about is Henry Broomfield, represented by his wife. He is the founder of the Poetic Opinion Community. Mr. Broomfield has spent 23 years in IDOC as a juvenile offender. Throughout the 23 years of being incarcerated, Mr. Broomfield has dedicated his life to God and developed himself as a better man through his many achievements by giving back to his community through his leadership. Mr. Broomfield currently holds 60+ educational certificates that he has earned while being incarcerated for 23 years. He is currently a teacher for 3 self-development courses at the Vandalia Correctional Facilities. Ronaldo Hudson is an educator, minister, and community organizer, and focuses his work on ending perpetual punishment in Illinois. After being sentenced to death row, Hudson worked for 37 years while incarcerated in Illinois Department of Corrections, where he became a leader, educator, and founder. Hudson developed and implemented groundbreaking programs inside the Department of Corrections, including the prison newspaper Stateville, Speaks in the Building Block program, a transformational program run by incarcerated people within the Illinois Department of Corrections. Community activist Kaya Jackson is a coach, mentor, actress, author, and a motivational speaker, an overcomer of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. Mrs. Jackson founded Girl Beautiful with a mission to inspire, encourage, motivate, and teach young ladies all across the world the importance of knowing they are loved and beautiful. The organization is currently up for the Best Community Service Award with the National Spoken Word Awards. Social change advocate Tyrone F. Muhammad is an author, mentor, and entrepreneur. Tyrone knows firsthand how incarceration affects individuals, families, and communities. Tyrone co-founded the Educational Justice Project, with the University of Illinois, Danville, where students earn bachelor's degrees. After serving 20 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, Tyrone continued working with ex-offenders and founded ECCSC, Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change, an organization committed to helping ex-offenders become productive members of society. Transformational justice advocate Luster Scott Sr. is a father, husband, son, author, and minister who has spent the last half of his life incarcerated. He became an ordained minister, received his GED, scoring in the top 10% in the nation. Did paralegal work assisting others with their case, performed correspondence, and called with churches and organizations to give the youth hope and guidance. Upon his release in 2020, he became the manager of operations and logistics of Cousins Empowered. Optimist CEO, where he worked with the organization goals to instill the youth with hope and most recently develop a second chance program to mend the broken man. Please give all our panelists a clap hand. Amazing, amazing works. So let's go to the questions. So the first question will be for Kaya Jackson. Illinois represents the birth juvenile justice. We see that you work with youth and girls in your organization. Can you share why this demographic was and is of importance, and how do you contribute to transformative justice?
Well, hello, everyone. I realized some time ago the importance of dealing with the young girls because I've seen, first of all, I had to get healed myself from knowing that I needed a mentor and that never manifested for me. So I wanted to take a stand and to make sure that every young girl that I come in contact with, whether that be outside in the world or in the prison, behind the prison walls, as far as juvenile and young ladies as well too, I needed to make sure that they knew the importance of being loved and that they are beautiful, that they can do whatever it is that they put their mind to do. And that was my goal. And I started Girl Be Beautiful, the mentorship program for young ladies. It's so dear to my heart because I was out there searching and I looked in all the wrong places and looked towards all the wrong people. So I don't want that to be the young girls that I serve. I don't want that to be their testimony. I want it to be different. Know that they can be proud of themselves. Know that they can look in the mirror and be proud of themselves and show to themselves and to their family that they are somebody. And that's it.
Thank you. The next question is going to go to Ronaldo Hudson. Poverty is one of the leading causes of recidivism. What are some ways the system has let people of color down in this area, and how can it be improved?
Thank you as well. I'm really honored to be up here. According to the state of Illinois, I shouldn't be here. The state of Illinois said that there is nothing redeemable about us. And I think it's really important that people pay attention and look across the line there. See all these brothers? You see this crowd? They said that we wasn't worthy of being here. And so I wanted people to really understand poverty plays a major role in bad decisions. When you're hungry, you're trying to figure out what to do, then you do foolish things. And we have a system that is designed to eat us rather than to help perfect us. And so it was only when I recognized in a death row cell that I was greater than my worst decision, right? I'm not here because I was liberated or exonerated, to be clear. I'm here because I was liberated because I chose to care for myself despite poverty, despite I couldn't pay for a lawyer, despite not being able to pay for a defense. So we began to start reading books and studying for ourselves and said, let's take our education in our own hands. And so when you mentioned briefly the fact that I am the founder of the Stateville Speak, I take that to heart, right? I take to heart that we started the building block program where we said the incarcerated population should be educating ourselves, and we shouldn't put that in the hands of people that don't love us, right? They feed off of us, but they don't love us. And I think it's vitally important. So poverty plays a major role in when we see these young kids running up and down the street and with nothing to do. We put curfews on activities and we asked for helicopters rather than incarceration over education. That's just That's a shame. And so people are fed off of our misery. And I think it's vitally important that we begin to talk about the things that are really problematic. Where are these billions of dollars going? Because they're clearly not coming to us. And somebody is benefiting from the tragedies that are happening with our community. And so they have the resources. We just haven't demanded that they turn them back over to us. And so I'm a believer in self-education. In fact, one of the things we do with the Illinois Prison Project is we work to help incarcerated people come home. And so we file clemencies and we file petitions on behalf of men and women for free. To be clear, you'll never get a letter from the Illinois Prison Project saying, we'll represent your son or daughter if you can pay. And we also train people to do their own clemencies. And so when you want to change poverty, you have to start with education. And once you get educated, you realize that dirty water is not good as pure water. And we want some pure water that will only come from those that love us controlling the well.
Thank you. So the next question is going to go to Luster Scott Sr. Then ACLU Illinois suggests it is time to dispel the myths and laws of truth in sentencing. Explain to us what is briefly and how it has affected Black people in the prison disproportionately in Illinois.
Yes, how you doing? It's an honor to be up here because like my big brother said, us up here in Black, they didn't expect for us to be on this side of the fence never again. And with the introduction of truth in sentencing, that was a systematic attack on the Black family and the minority family because the judge doesn't have discretion on giving us the sentence that fit the crime. They have to stay inside of certain guidelines. So that was once again the oppressor strategically attacking the head of the family. Because when the man is away, the family will be in disarray. So no matter how great a job all these queens do at raising our sons, there's still something missing. And 72% go through the prison population, either through probation or some form of periodic imprisonment or incarceration. So the truth in sentencing bill is one of their most effective weapons in this century of destroying the Black family. So we have to stay mindful of it may not be our family that has to do 85 to 100% of the case they catch one day later than the person who caught the same offense that will do 50% of the same sentence. So we have to stay mindful and uplifting and educated. That's why in the program I just launched called Mending, and it's an acronym for Men Everywhere Need Direction, Insight, Nurturing, and Grace. Because if you fix the man, if you build up the man in the way that he should go, the family will go in the way they should go. Thank you.
Thank you. Tyrone Muhammad. The Brennan Center for Justice states that an informed citizen is our democracy's best defense. Convicted felons lose many rights once marked by the criminal justice system. Legislation directly related to shifting the outcome of one's life is intertwined with their right to vote. What does your organization do to challenge these oppressed rights?
Thank everyone for being here. And I send all praises to God for you all's presence and ours. Just on this stage right now, I don't know of our sisters here, but each of us have served time in the same prison. Y'all see this? We've served time in the same prison, and even around this room and in this room, you have over or nearly 200 years of prison time in this room right now. Over 200 years of prison time. Ex-cons are the only class and caste of individuals that's perpetually discriminated against by everyone. I mean everyone. And one reason I say that is that these chairs are not filled in this room. But everyone knows someone who's been incarcerated. When you talk about the vote, and that's why we have to understand that even under the Democratic Party, we have mass incarceration and disinvestment and unemployment rates that's like none I've ever seen since Dr. King. Ex-cons represent over 1 million bodies in voting power. Every ex-con brings with him 5 to 20 people that can vote their interest. That means that the 20 women in my family, I can convince them to vote my interest. Grandmama, auntie, sisters, your girlfriend, and even y'all mistress. You missed that. Will vote your interest. So when we start talking about the voting and the right, our judge that sentenced us didn't sentence us to perpetual discrimination and incarceration. That means once our debt to society was paid, our rights should have been restored upon returning to society. And that even challenges the Republicans and the NRA to say even our Second Amendment rights as well. It doesn't say about the level of crime, the type of crime. Every individual should be held accountable for their own self and individual conduct. So when you start talking about the vote, I think that when we as ex-felons come together and stand and create a different voting bloc and create a different party, for instance, we just started the P square, C square, and PC PAC. That's the Progressive Party of the convicted class. So P2, C2, we recognize across the country that formerly incarcerated person wield so much power. In the state of Illinois, we as formerly incarcerated person can change the governor's race. And we're gonna show them that our vote matters.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to ask the audience if they have any questions. If anybody want to come up and ask a question to one of the panelists, they can do so now. Oh, is he on? Okay, perfect. So, okay, 1 minute. We have one more question. And it's going to be from... Okay, so Henry Broomfield, HR 2908, the Childhood Offenders Rehabilitation and Safety Act of 2021 is an example of policies nationwide that are constantly being reviewed with respect to our justice system. How would such a bill being passed have assisted your case? And in the interest of the time, please to discuss the work you're doing that to align with saving our children.
Henry. Wazir.
Yes.
She's asking the question, babe.
Answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. Within the past 10 years, scientific studies have revealed that the brain doesn't fully develop till you are 25 years of age. And now courts are beginning to recognize this. In Illinois, many laws for juveniles have been passed, but none are retroactive, meaning that they don't apply to individuals like myself. Illinois do not have a check and balance system to review individuals after a certain period of time. If HR 2908 were passed, I could be reviewed for the man that I am today at 40 and not who I was at 17 years old. HR 2908 also addresses why Henry is the way he was and why he did take the life of the God who was bullying him and the people in the community, which brings me to my next point as to why HR 2908 is needed. I started Poetic Opinion to give a voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless, particularly the young children. And we are currently fundraising to provide financial assistance for families impacted by incarceration. Because when a parent gets incarcerated, they go in debt by 20%, which leaves the burden more than likely to the woman. Also, too, we would like to provide therapy and counseling for children impacted by incarceration, because so very often they go into their adulthood with unresolved issues stemming from a parent getting locked up. The third one is we want to celebrate these children who are impacted by incarceration, because so very often they're doing all of these great things, and with their parent being incarcerated, they sometimes get discouraged. So we want to let them know that we see what you're doing. We want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And also, too, you have so many parents who are still using the tools that they have and are available to reach out to their children and raise them from a distance. Because being incarcerated do not excuse nobody of their responsibility. The next thing we would like to provide is after-school character building programs, especially for the at-risk kids and children impacted by incarceration. Because, like for myself, for an example, I had no problem-solving skills. Most people will come from in the inner city have no problem-solving skills, so that's why crime is at an all-time high where we come from, because nobody knows how to solve problems. And so we can solve that problem by helping them solve problems. And last, Poetic Opinions do have a mentorship program, because we want to utilize the troubled youth of yesterday to help mentor our troubled youth now. Because instead of throwing guys like myself away, we can be utilized. Like guys in here, they love me and they respect me because I understand where they come from. I understand how it feels to be down, to feel like nobody cares, to be left alone. And so when I communicate and I talk to them, they see that I'm not faking and I'm not lying to them and that I'm honest with them. And so that begins to build a relationship. And there are several other guys like myself that have the ability to reach these guys. Carjackings are at an all-time high. And so with that being said, I could possibly reach one of these guys as well as somebody else. That may be the reason why crime doesn't happen to you or somebody you love. So if you utilize guys like myself, which Poetic Opinions is doing that. And also, too, I filed a lawsuit to bring awareness to the youthful offender bill that was passed in 2019. After serving 10 to 20 years, guys will be eligible to go to the parole board. And also to bring awareness to the truth of this. Because I currently am working and I'm not able to get any time off my sentence like other people that have the same case of mine. They're able to get time off their sentence. So on July 23rd at the Thompson Center, we will be having a peaceful, omnipotent assembly, not only to bring awareness to these issues, but to humanize us and share our story as who we are. Because as long as we're being looked at as what we did, we'll never get to who I am and what I have become. Most of us in here are not our greatest mistake. We are a lot of men of God. And most importantly, we are God's masterpiece. And so we want everybody to come out and support us. Again, I thank you. And last but not least, say a prayer, because prayer changes things. That's what my mother taught me. She ain't taught me nothing else. She taught me to respect God and love God. So thank y'all for listening.
Thank you. All right, so let's open up for the audience if someone has a question. Should I take the mic? Here and there.
on death row, and if so, how did you survive? Thank you.
Say it again, ma'am.
Okay, okay. I need your name, and were you on death row? Where were you on death row? How long were you there, and how did you survive?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Ronaldo Hudson. I survived by the grace of God. It's really simple. Like, I survived because I think my ancestors were praying and keeping me. Like, I survived because there were people, you know, and mothers like Mother Helen Sinclair, who, when I was on death row, came down there and said, boy, don't listen to them people tell you who you are. You need to know who you are. And so I'm grateful that I had mothers that came down there when my own mother wouldn't show up, you know. And so I survived because people cared and didn't just talk the talk, you know. Even as we look at what's going on right now, I think it's vitally important that we remember those young brothers and sisters in the street need us to sit down with them and not just judge them. And so I survived because people stopped judging me and started feeding me, you know, because I couldn't read or write when I went to prison. And that's what they feed upon, the illiteracy of our community. And we have to get better at protecting our community and educating our people. Education over incarceration. So I survived by the grace of God. It's that simple. It wasn't because I was so much stronger than anyone else. When that brother said it's about 200 years in here, I got 37 of them by myself. I think we can cross 300. You know, I think it's some biblical numbers up here, man. And so I think that is just vitally important, ma'am, with all due respect. I'm here because of grace. Well, why is America so damn violent? Like, why do we watch bombs explode? With all due respect, I will not brand my little brothers and sisters as being violent. I think they're misled. And they're misled by this country, with all due respect. You know, like, I'm an educator because I decided to not let people brand me, and I'll be doggone, excuse my language, because I do realize I'm among ministers, forgive me, but I just want to say with all due respect, ma'am, our children are not violent, they're just misled. And there are many things that we do in the spirit of foolishness, right? So we need to move the fog of the lie that's being told to parents every day. Be scared of your kids. I'm not scared of them little brothers, little sisters. I'm praying for them. Right. And I want them to be in a room so that we can educate them, because I'm tired of looking at other people come and tell us what's wrong with us. Right. You know? Thank you.
I would like to piggyback off of that question. Like my big brother said, society as a whole is violent. And there are large sums of money that are made by violence. And when you look at all these towns that have prisons, that's their only industry. So, but when you look at the most violent acts in modern society, they're not perpetuated by your kids. They're not perpetuated by the people that look like you. But the people that look like you get exponentially more time for the same offense. My brother got death row for one few seconds of an act with one victim. But there were people who was in Stateville with us that had multiple of the same offenses, but wasn't on death row, but they ain't look like man one of us. So society has told us that our children are out of control. Society has told us that we can't control our children. Society has told us a lot of mistruths, but the biggest ill is we believe society. We let society tell us that we couldn't whoop our kids and the prisons exploded. We let society tell us that you can't trust the village, that your neighbor is sick, but the prisons exploded when you ostracize your neighbors. There was a time where everybody in every state, every town knew each other's first and last name. Now, how many of us know our neighbor's name? So that's where the real ills come in. We let society fill us with these devices and this separatism, and our kids are just led astray. And the only time they really get attention is when they bad. So they be bad because they really want attention. Most bad boys are mama's boys. And when the bad boy act, like your mama say, hey, sit your and don't move. He wanted to be there anyway. So we got attention. So we need to love on them, inject them and infect them with hope, and give them direction. And then do away with a lot of stigmatism and stereotypes of our kids being violent and our kids being bad. Thank you.
Our kids are who they supposed to be because we not who we supposed to be. Those children don't create extended clips, 100-round drums. Our children that we call gang members don't produce Smith & Wesson, Glocks, cigs, bullets, cocaine, heroin, weed, or none of the accoutrements that cause terroristic effects in our communities against our women and our children. Poverty is violence. Disinvestment of those individuals who operate out our community while our children watch them with no one ever passing the torch or raising them up to be anything other than what Irish and Italians taught them to be. And Jews. Y'all want to talk about that. Black men didn't create gangs. We didn't create gangs. The very same gang bangers who I watched, Cagney and all them little gangsters that I saw on TV. We got white people coming from all over the world to do a tour, Al Capone tour through our city. And they profit off of violence. Yet black men, we are at war every day with our children. It's a civil war going on in these communities every day with weapons of mass destruction that we don't even create. But we as elders, we have the audacity to judge the hate that hate produce. These young kids are merely fruit. What you're missing is generations of trees. This tree produce these fruits produce these trees from the seeds. These trees produce more fruits that has more seeds that produce more fruit that produce more trees. If you never deal with the original sin and the original root, but have all the judgment in the world for the fruit, you the problem. And not only that, the very scriptures that we read, us religious folk, says God would turn the children on the parents. How do we see that as abnormal if you believe in God? That's normal. If you leave the children nothing to eat, then they're going to eat you. And I look in all these communities. These young boys have nothing to eat. They see foreigners lined up in their community, robbing them, pimping them, and leeching off of their wealth, and put nothing back. The aldermen, the pastors, the politicians don't require any community benefit from these businesses that come in our neighborhoods. And our children watch this hypocrisy while we send trillions across the country to Ukraine while we at war in our own communities. We dealing with hypocrisy. And the children see that, and they have no respect for hypocrites. And that's where we at.
Do you mind if I piggyback off of him a little bit? Really being honest, you asked about why our children are so violent. I kind of take that as an insult because, for one, there is no family unity when there's mass incarceration. We look around, there are no fathers, there are barely no mothers because they have to work 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 jobs, if we're gonna be honest. These kids don't know nobody. They see what they see, the drug dealers, prostitution. That's what they know, they see as normal, and they think that's okay. So when they go out into the real world, trying to understand, hey, I'm normal, people look at them like, no, you're not, you're violent. We don't want anything to do with you. So at Poetic Opinions, we are here to create unity, family, structure. Yes, we need education, of course, but it starts with the families first, bringing the men back home, bringing the women back home, bringing the children home, sitting down at a dinner table, talking about finance and education, generational wealth. Those are the things that will prevent our children from being labeled as violent, because then they'll have a better outlook of what the world looks like when it's normal. And that's my 2 cents on that question.
Hey, can I just really, I'm sorry, just really quickly, because this is really important. When you ask the question of violence, like, I sat on death row through 12 executions, from Charlie Walker to the last guy that Governor Ryan executed, Andrew Cocorera. And one of the most violent things I've ever witnessed was the process of execution, right? Because all the stuff that we are upset over, to be clear, I don't want to see anyone wrongfully shot and hurt. And we're trying to figure out how to stop it, right? But at the same time, we have to address what the brother mentioned. Where are these guns coming from, and how do we cut it off from our community? Like, we can't keep talking about, economic and poverty and all these things, and we don't own nothing. We don't own the blocks we live on that they stumping on. We don't own nothing. And so we have to start having real conversations. And so the most violent act I've ever, in fact, what's the most violent rap song ever? Bomb bursting in air, gave true to the night that our flag was still, boom, bombs. Stop playing with me, right? Stop letting people brand us. Let's decide who we are. Right. With all due respect. I just wanted to add that, like, death row, and now we have what's called death by incarceration. And I want to see an end come to that so that our community can start breathing again. They choked George Floyd out in front of you. Yeah. They're choking men and women out in prison behind prison walls.
Hi, my name is Harriet Parker. Good afternoon to everyone. I have 2 questions. The first one is a question having to do with whether or not there's any viable training for the people who are in the penitentiary. We have hundreds and hundreds of people returning from the penitentiary in the state of Illinois alone every month. Do they have viable training programs that would translate to returning citizens coming out back to the community and getting jobs? That's number 1. And number 2, I was sort of counting up my relatives who have served time in the penitentiary. So I've 20 years, brother. I don't particularly like the term ex-cons, and I was telling this young brother that, and he said he would explain it. So the second question, I just want him to explain why he uses that term. Thank you.
So my program, Girl Be Beautiful, just started a program that will help not only juvenile, but young ladies coming out to get back acclimated in the world. Like some, just for myself, my son went in as a kid and came out almost 30 years old. So there was no programs that I knew about to help my son. So I was determined to make sure that don't happen to anybody else that I knew as by way of a female. So I wanted to make sure that if they go in, even if they're a kid when they come out, because juvenile, right? I want to make sure that they're able to cook, they're able to sew, they're able to do the things, job readiness, they're able to do the things necessary for them to get acclimated back into the world. That program is Girl Beautiful.
With the programs in the prisons, that was a quiet shift a few years ago that the people who wasn't incarcerated never noticed. It went from being rehabilitation, Illinois Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, to Illinois Department of Correction and Confinement. So they changed their mission statement. They changed from, when we first came into prisons, you can get degrees as long as you had and how much money you had, because you could take correspondence courses. They stopped that. They were able to get Pell Grants. They stopped that. And then they instituted something in 2015 where if you had more than 3 years, you couldn't get in school, period. No matter how much time, you could have had life. And that means you could never go to school past a GED. And then you had to be on a waiting list to get in the GED. But recidivism says that 70 to 80% of people who do under 3 years reoffend in under a year. And the number drops till the 60s when you're over 5 years. But then when you're over 10 years, the recidivism rate is single digits. So by design, one, you can't get into school until you're 2 years short. So that means they limit the program that you can attend, because every program is 6 months to a year. So there are no true programs. Everything in prison is hard. Everything in prison is designed to break you. You are the only thing in prison that has feelings. And then they're teaching the new employees, don't trust nothing they say, suspect everything they do, and we're going to give healthcare kickbacks to give you ibuprofen for broken legs and poked out eyes. And we're going to ride with you on all the frivolous tickets and stuff you write. No matter how many people, they made where we couldn't sign petitions. We couldn't get together after my brother and them made the petition to expose Burge and the death row torture. Illinois, without any kind of votes decided, if any inmates form a petition, we're putting you in segregation and taking time. You see what I'm saying? So design, there is no viable programs. You are your most important program, and you have to work on you, because they will let you sit there in your cell and become the best chess player and card player in the world and not learn nothing, because that means you cannot come home and teach the future nothing. So as far as programs, you have to be short to get in the programs, and then depending on the nature of your offense and your conviction, you cannot get any residual rewards for attending the program if you're a truth and sentencing offender. Regardless of my brother Broomfield, he probably have the most certificates in the state, but he can't get no good time. He have instituted programs in every prison he been in to help guys coming in who finna go home, knowing he couldn't get out until he did 28 years straight. So as far as the viable programs, there are really not none unless you work hard on your own star player.
Do you mind if I piggyback off of him real quick? Actually, my husband, Henry Broomfield, actually is currently teaching one of the Christian Bible classes at Vandalia. He actually brought that course down there. He's been in Vandalia for about a year now, and he's been teaching individuals. He's actually a Muslim, you understand? And the way he teaches this program is to perform relatability, because no matter what your religion is, the message is still the same. God still loves you, and you are a masterpiece. So the owners of the actual organization that is going to various institutions, it's called Freedom Within, and that's one of the courses my husband is teaching. And so they do travel from certain spots, but it's not everywhere, but it does need to be everywhere. So hopefully it can, other people can improve their lives through the teaching, even if they're Muslim, Buddhist, Catholic, it doesn't matter, but they do need to be there for some guidance and hope.
Thank you. Now, I told you this was going to be powerful. So we are going to wrap up this first half of our panel discussion. We thank everyone.
I got to
for your
answer that
questions.
lady question.
Okay,
It's about the
one-
ex-con thing.
I'm going to give it to you one
Okay,
second.
thank you.
Okay. So he's going to have the last word and answer her question really quickly, because we have an award that we would like to present. This work that is being done in the criminal justice system and with prison policy, as you can see, it goes way beyond the bars. So we thank you all, this panel that has shared this information with us. We will have a digital resource guide for you available. Once, check your emails, everyone that is registered with Rainbow Push. We want you to come on board, be members, get active so that we can go out and make a change in all of these areas that we're supporting. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Ma'am, I most definitely want to, that was one of the things, and it comes back to programming. Sitting in there in prison 21 years, watching men come and go with no reduction in recidivism, I said, you know what, it's clear our motto at ECCSC is it's going to take us to save us. So the Constitution 13th Amendment, when the judge sentenced me, he said, you are duly convicted to 40 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections at 50%. These are terms they've given to us. That's the only way slavery is acceptable and permissible is through conviction of a crime. So X represents a double entendre in that we're X of everything everything negative that we've ever done. The same conviction that the judge gave us, we X of all of that. But X also represents a mathematical equation of unknown. So you see ex-cons, just like we no longer use the word colored people. But the acronyms, one day, all you're going to see is ECCSC. You're not going to see ex-cons. Just like we don't see colored people in NAACP. So what I'm saying is that we have to start embracing that which we know is the truth in the Constitution. And that's what it's called. We allow people to put titles on us and terms on us, mostly white people. They now using returning citizens. The guys I represent don't feel like citizens of their own block, let alone their own country. They now using another term called justice-involved individuals. These are not terms that black people created. We know what the Constitution calls us. We know what our judge said we was duly convicted. So we as an organization have decided, since there's so many ills in our community, we're constantly solving for X. There's so many unknown. And we have, lastly, we have so much untapped, unknown potential languages in the graveyards and in the prisons. So ex-cons for community and social change is that, ma'am. It's not to be seen as a negative, but a factual statement.
Thank you. Thank you. As we transition our panel, we're going to bring up our second set of panel members. And I'd like to introduce someone that is very important to our organization. Bishop Grant, he is our National Field Director, and he is going to give an award. If you want to come up, Bishop Grant.
Let's give it up for our great panel. Set this here. The space, right? I want to you get re-injured. I want you to give it up for our co-host and panel organizer, Miss Kalana Gale Scott. You know, we do this work along with Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I think it's worthy to honor him in this panel. Let's put our hands and salute our leader, our founder, and our president. It's not that heavy. This for us organizationally is a human rights campaign. Reverend Jackson has long fought for freedom of people all over the world, bringing hostages home and standing for those who don't have to stand by themselves because he brings the whole world to their cause. Person that we pause now to honor is, as they shared it with me, Dr. Judge Bush, I have always been, Attorney Arwine, amazed at the plight of Muhammad Ali, who took his own fight seemingly by himself, put his career, his livelihood, the wellness of his family, and all that he had accomplished all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and won, and won, and won, and won. And so human rights campaigns oftentimes, Ronnie, are challenging as you go up the slippery slope of fighting for freedom and emancipation. That's what this weekend was about, not celebrating, but commemorating the fact that our people are free, but we're not equal. This person that we honor today, Abraham Bolden, was a young African-American Secret Service agent in Chicago when he was asked by President John F. Kennedy himself to join the White House Secret Service detail. For Mr. Bolden, it was a dream come true, and as an encouraging sign of charismatic possibilities, the vision perhaps of a new America was possible. But the dream quickly turned sour, for Mr. Bolden found himself regularly subjected to open hostility and inherent racism. And he was appalled by the White House irresponsibility and their approach to addressing the issue. When he sought to expose it and bring it to light, he was falsely accused and charged as such. And just this year, President Joe Biden, in his first pardoned Mr. Abraham Bolden, and he is with us today. He has written an incredible book that's available called The Echo from Daley Plaza, a true story of the first African-American on the White House Secret Service detail in his quest for justice after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. But he is here with us as a part of our 56th annual international conference. And Mr. Bolden, we accept you and receive you as one of our brightest stars for freedom, emancipation, and liberation. We want to salute you and give you this award as a badge of honor and dignity. I'm going to ask Attorney Barbara Arnwine from the Transformative Justice Coalition to join me. Attorney Arnwine, put your hands together and raise a great salutation for this American hero for Black America. Attorney Barbara Arnwine of Transformative Justice will join us. Y'all keep clapping. We fought too hard. Act like you're at Wrigley Field. Act like you're at the arena. Act like you're at the United Center. Come on, make some noise for him. Those are family members. You panelists come down here and take a picture with him. Come on down. Come on, Tyrone. Y'all take a picture with this. This is a champion. Give it up for a champion. I said, give it up for a champion. We want you to go to rainbowpush.org. And next panel, I want you to come now. Those who are part of the Mothers for Justice, Brother Frank Chapman, come to the stage for our second panel. Those of you who are watching this, you're streaming live. We need you to like, share, and comment, and spread this. Sister Forte, I don't want you to go anywhere. Sister Kalana Gail Scott will be joining me. Panelists come. Brother Frank, come on. Look at him go. Give it up for him one more time. Look at him go. His family is with him. Panelists, come quickly, come quickly. All right, there we go. Let's do this quickly. We want to transition. Come on, panelists, come on to the stage. Panelists, come to the stage. No, but take panelists, take your seats. That's fine. That's fine.
I got the broom.
I got you. How are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, got. All right, thank you. One more time for Abraham Bolden. Want to make sure you get his book. Immediately following this session, you can go to the lobby and get his book.
You want to say something? You want to say something? Here you go.
There you go.
Can y'all hear me? Is the mic on? Can you hear me? I want to thank Operation Push and Reverend Jackson. You know, we go way back together. I'm 87 years old, raised in East St. Louis, Illinois. When I was growing up, I often wondered, I would see some of my friends go to prison and come back. I often wondered why. And I knew there had to be a reason, because there's a cause for every effect. And when they came home, they called them ex-convicts. Well, I got news for y'all. We've been to jail. We know the truth. We know what it is to be out of sight of society and somebody telling you what to do. 24 hours a day. But I want you to know this too, that everybody who bows down and are waiting for a Savior is waiting for an ex-convict.
Amen.
Moses was an ex-convict. When Jesus comes back, he's going to be an ex-convict. Jeremiah is an ex-convict. Abraham was convicted. Jacob.
Malcolm X.
That's right. Malcolm X. So don't frown on ex-convicts because you might not be recognizing your Savior. Because we've been through the mill, we know what's behind that wall. The first day I was arrested and put in Cook County Jail, they put me in a cell next to Witherspoon, who was waiting to die in the electric chair. I guess that was a message to me. Because one of them had told me, say, you're not gonna make it through this. You're not gonna make it through this. But as God had it, I'm the only one of them that made it. They all gone.
Yes, sir.
I'm 87 years old, hopping and skipping around here.
Hopping and skipping.
Yeah, hopping and skipping. And they all gone. 3 of them committed suicide. They had no mercy on me whatsoever. I'm talking about the federal government.
Yes, sir.
Had no mercy on me whatsoever. Now, can you imagine how I felt as an ex-federal officer when they put me in Leavenworth Penitentiary, the most dangerous penitentiary in the world? Being an ex-Secret Service agent. But they knew where my heart was. My heart was with the people. They tried to destroy me. They tried to declare me insane. On August the 5th of 1967, I was supposed to go before a committee in Springfield where they were going to declare me insane. And these brothers will tell you, the chief of classification and parole, they run the joint. You can't do anything to a convict without the signature of the chief of classification and parole. So now on August the 5th, they had me scheduled to go before the chief of classification and parole and the committee that determine your standard. So I went before the committee, and it just so happened that the day that I was supposed to go before that committee, the chief of classification and parole, who told me that when I got out of prison, I wouldn't even know my name, that I was going to be declared insane. Shot his wife. Chief of classification and parole shot his wife, ran down the street, shot at another one of the guards, ran back home, put a rope around his neck and committed suicide. And he called me crazy. But see, I'm not taking any credit for that. That was God's work. That's right. Because he intended for me to be here today. And my last word is this. Don't fret yourself. about the heaven above. That's right. Just remember on this earth, God is love.
Amen.
Thank you.
One more time for Mr. Abraham Bolden. Yes. You know, when we started this human rights campaign, and Reverend Jackson was touched by the stories of these mothers and families from brothers who are at the Menard's correctional facility, the prison. And if you don't know about Menard's, you're going to know about Menard's today, as each of the panelists have an impact statement as relates to, they're going to introduce themselves, and then they're going to, because of the time, because we've got so much going. Have you enjoyed this conference? Have you enjoyed this conference?
Thank you, sir.
We want you to make sure, Kalana mentioned earlier about the digital resource guide. All of the information that you hear and you receive will be a part of that digital resource guide that will provide you an opportunity to be a messenger to carry this message wherever you go, whoever you talk to, whoever you communicate with, and know what this is all about. So I want to start with Ms. Ronnie Threlkel, who will talk to us about the men at Menard's. Who are they? Who are they, as this is a human rights campaign? One of the brothers talked very poignantly about making sure that we don't lose the fact and the reality that these are people and they should not be treated as property. So put your hands together for all of these panelists. Put your hands together for all of these panelists. Ms. Ronnie Threlkel.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be at this convention with Rainbow Push and with the Chicago Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression, as well as being one of the mothers of justice. The ladies that are here on this panel, on this stage this evening, are mothers of justice. So I am a mother of a son who has been incarcerated at Menard Prison for the past 11 years. But I will start with one of our sons who's been in there the longest. His mom is working right now. She was unable to be here, so I will speak for her. Isaiah Brady, inmate number R28430. Isaiah is serving a 53-year sentence at Menard since being held there. Isaiah has manufactured crimes pinned against him. He has grievances unjustly been denied access to food and medical care. He is currently being held in segregation. All of these young men are in solitary confinement, and it's been over a year behind a steel door. And the temperatures are over 90 degrees. So while Isaiah is suffering in solitary confinement, he also, most recently, he was falsely accused of biting a guard. Isaiah suffers from mental illness and has been denied treatment since being at Menard Prison. He was pulled out of health care by a unit guard who claimed they found a knife in his cell. After he suffered a grand mal seizure, where he suffered a head injury, he was beaten severely while handcuffed and shackled. While recovering from the seizure, he was then threatened with an additional 15 years for having bitten the guard.
which was substantial. Not true. He rightfully fought to enter a plea of not guilty, but was betrayed by his public counsel, who entered a guilty plea for punching a guard in the chest, which was what happened. He did not bite a guard, he punched the guard in the chest. Adding an additional 3 years, we have filed a motion to fight this charge. Not only has he not received treatment for his mental illness, he has been targeted by guards, taken advantage of due to his illness, and brought these charges falsely against him. I will next go to Michael Minifield, who's been in there long as well. So his number is R55489. Michael Minifield is serving a 50-year sentence in Menard. He was arrested in 2009 at 22 years old. And how long has he been there? 13 years. He's been there 13 years. I'm sorry to say Isaiah's been there 21 years already. So Michael was arrested in 2009 at 22 years old. He was sent to Menard. Upon being sentenced, he was moved to Statefield, where he was beaten and pepper sprayed by guards for not hearing a verbal order. He did not hear the verbal order because he's hearing impaired. He was then transferred back to Menard, and since being there, he has had false tickets written against him for filing grievances because he's hearing impaired, because they should have a sign over his door saying he's hearing impaired. So if he does not hear orders, he should not be accounted for or charged or tortured and beaten because he can't hear. So he's been denied access to health care. He's filed grievances. He's been denied access to food and medical care, and he's currently being held in solitary confinement as well. He has had guards threaten and beat him, and we know this from telephone calls, which is coming up next. I'll go to my son, Chaz Thrill Kill. This is my son. Chaz is serving a 30-year sentence at Menard Prison. Chaz has been incarcerated since 2011. He served Stateville, Pontiac, Menard, Pinckneyville, Dixon, and now he's back at Menard. While in solitary confinement for the past year, he went on a hunger strike. He went on a hunger strike because he knew about Anthony Gay. If some of you know about Anthony Gay, serving 22 years in solitary confinement, that an HB 3465 bill is in his honor, waiting to be signed at the Senate. Amen. So my son started the hunger strike in February. He did the entire month of February. They took him to the infirmary and threatened to put a feeding tube in my son's stomach. There are no doctors at these prisons. There are nurses, but no doctors. The sanitary cleanliness of these places are horrific. So when I knew about the hunger strike, I called and begged. I begged. I called the warden. I called Rod Jeffries. I called the family liaison office. No help. No one helped my son. I begged and cried with the counselor for him to eat. And through a secret question, he ate on the 28th day of February. But he was screaming Anthony Gay's name to try to get things changed at Menard. They were not feeding them. Only fourth food of trays were given to them once a day. Showers once a month. showers. Inhumane. So after this hunger strike for the 28 days, they threatened him. He did have a physical altercation with a guard. He filed a grievance against it, and that was denied, and that gave him more time in solitary confinement, because when the guards assaulted my son, and as they do most of these young men, they do it where there's no cameras. So Menard Prison has ignored his grievances, threatened his life, and unjustly denied him contact with his family and without access to his commissary. Two more, and I'll pass the mic. Omar Bullock Parks, inmate number Y46761, was transferred to Pontiac at the age of 18 years old for allegedly assaulting a guard due to mental health care. He is in fear of his life and in solitary confinement. He's having issues with his mind, that he's hearing things, voices, and he's unable to reconnect with the real world. He was 18, transferred to torture from Menard, Pontiac. And one last son of ours is Farad Muhammad, inmate number 50117. Thank you, everyone.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. The next statement is going to come from Mrs. Octavia Towns.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
First of all, I want to give praises to the Most High. Amen. I ain't gonna talk long, but it's real painful, so just okay. I want to give praises. Amen. Oh my God, where do I start? This is my loved one, and he's been wrongfully convicted, going on 10 years maybe. Oh, I'm sorry. This is my loved one, and he's been in Menard Prison for 10 years now. Stephen Orlando Douglas, Y35975. June the 14th, 2022, made 10 years for him, wrongfully convicted. And we've been here evidence from day one that he's been innocent. Day one. So I'm here today just to say thank you all for giving us this opportunity, because we have not gave up and we will not give up. And what's very important about this day, it ain't just for my loved one, it's for everyone loved one that's out there. All over the United States, they being mentally and physically abused. They getting their food taken from them. The water is molded, it's incensed. It's just so infected in Menard, in the north part of it. No electricity. The room's so small that two people can't even really turn face to face. And then there go altercation, because he mad because it's hot in there, sweating, he bumping him. And it's just confusion. It's just foolishness, dumb junk all around the board. And I'm just grateful that the Creator had me still standing, because we just lost Stephen Douglas' mom to MS. She just died. We just buried her Tuesday. She had MS for the loss of her condition, because her oldest son got murdered to Chicago, Illinois streets, and Stephen's dad got murdered to the streets. And he was the last son left. So her health fell so bad with the multiple sclerosis that she couldn't walk or do anything. So the last time she visited Reverend Jesse Jackson Place, that's the day I rushed her to Rush Hospital. And like a week later, she passed away, still trying to fight for Stephen. So I told her I'm gonna keep on going and keep on going. So it's a blessing for Miss Shinta Strasberg for reaching out to me, and Mr. Frank Chapman and Bishop Tavis Grant They've been tremendously well. And for them to be so appreciative, like they've been knowing us for centuries. And they just met us recently. Well, they just met me, and it's like I've been knowing them for years. And it was so amazing when Bishop Tavis Grant showed up at the funeral. We all was pleased and touched. Because Michelle said, if it take the last breath out of my body, I'll make sure my son get free from them lies.
That's right.
And that's what she did. So now she left a 4-year-old son behind, and now I'm raising him also. I've been there for Steve, and now I have the baby also. So the Creator built me like this. And I must keep going, being only girl with 7 brothers, so I'm prepared. It hurt a lot of days, but I can't give in. I gotta keep going, keep going. So I just want to say, everyone, I appreciate you all, but if the more people that come together, the more we can go down to Menard, you know, like they did the Million Man March. I was thinking if we did something like that, you know, just stand outside and let them know that we're not afraid, because we're not afraid. We're not. It's nothing to be afraid of except the Creator. Jesus made us. Jesus the one sacrificed for us. So what other chance can we take of losing? None. So the Menard number 2 is Menard Correction Center is in Chester, Illinois. That's where it's located. Chester, Illinois. And it's full of feces. The electricity is completely gone out of the north side. And the rooms ain't 10 by 8 spaces. This a real long list, but I'm not gonna hold up all y'all time, but I just want y'all to please keep on fighting with us and don't judge us, because everybody have somebody that's going to either be lied on or, you know. So I want to thank you all, and please help. Let's fight for not just Michelle Harvest, because I know she looking down on us, but
Thank you. Thank you.
of everybody.
That's right.
Thank you.
If you all don't completely understand where these mothers and these family members are coming from, you have to look up Menard Correctional Facility. You can go on the IDOC website, but you need to look and see if you want to be an activist and change with some of the things they're talking about. You have to understand that this correctional facility sits by an infected body of water on a silo. So there are the feces that they're talking about. This system was designed to completely be on an island and to affect our loved ones the way that they're talking about. So it's Menard Correctional Facility, and it's going towards the St. Louis direction and a little bit to the west of it, okay? I've been there. You all definitely, like I said, this is a movement. This is not just a conversation. So would you all like to speak next? Adolfo and Alicia? Alicia Gill, please. Yes. Okay.
So we answering a question, or we speaking on that? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Gill. I'm the older sister of Michael Minifield, R55489. My brother was wrongfully convicted on April 20th, 2009. He is currently in solitary confinement at Menard Prison. He has an ADA hearing impairment. As Wanda just mentioned, it is state law to have a hearing impairment sign above the jail cell for anyone who has this condition. The prison guards did a random check of his cell and pepper sprayed his eyes, threw him down, stomped, and beat him. After this, he was sentenced to 1 year in solitary confinement from a fabricated ticket. Michael is experiencing inhumane living conditions that are unacceptable for any prisoner in solitary confinement. Additionally, the Menard correctional officers are beating inmates, feeding them uncooked food, housing inmates in cells that are unfit for any human being. It is mold, mildew, dead insects, feces, and rust in North 2 segregation jail cells. My brother mentioned this on a phone call and in multiple letters. Also in North 2 segregation solitary confinement, jail cells have no electricity and they are not taking showers daily nor weekly. Michael was only allowed to shower once a month. The prison will purposely cut my brother's water off for days and long stints of time. They have terrible ventilation, making it challenging to breathe while being in a jail cell with nothing but concrete walls 24 hours a day. His cell has little to no space in solitary confinement. My brother stands over 6 feet tall. He is unable to extend his arms or stand completely. The prison guards are yelling racial and sexual slurs, comments to my brother. Menard is decreasing in population. For this reason, Michael and other inmates believe that the Menard prison system will keep fabricating tickets to keep inmates in solitary confinement, adding years to inmates sentencing who already have majority of their life sentenced in prison, particularly Black and brown. My brother tickets are false, completely fabricated, and the prison cameras can prove this. I recently noticed on my brother's case that he had an earliest release date, which is 3/13/2023. This to me may explain the reason why they are torturing him. My brother has not been calling as often as he used to. He wrote me disturbing letters stating that he's afraid for his life and prison guards continue with threats of killing him. I believe he is being punished for speaking out against unfair treatment and inhumane living conditions in Menard prison. I didn't write this down, but my brother was sentenced by Judge Vincent M. Gahn. For those who don't know, Vincent M. Gahn is the historical judge who sentenced, the historical trial of Laquan McDonald. He gave killer cop Jason Van Dyke for shooting that baby, it was 16 to 17 times, but gave my brother 16, forgive me, but gave my brother 54 years for a crime he didn't commit. I didn't know as much as I did then that I do now about my brother, but it's all a system. God is revealing. This too shall pass. Also, this is all over the place. Also, we are also asking to sign a petition to end solitary confinement. The Anthony Gay, HB 3564 Anthony Gay bill status. I want to just end this with a scripture, John 14:16. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper to be with you forever. Thank you. God bless.
Give it up for these panelists. This is a big deal for them, and it should be for us. We are right at a critical cutoff time. Adolfo, I want you to share what should and could be done for them. And then Cassandra Greer is going to come, and then Frank Chapman is going to close us out. Let's give it up for them. Come on, clap for them. Show them some energy. Go ahead, Adolfo.
My name is Adolfo Davis. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, but I was raised in the Illinois Department of Correction. I was arrested at the age of 14 and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. I spent 29 years in prison, and I was just released 2 years ago. So I know fully well what these mothers' sons are going through, because I've been there. I've been beaten by the police. I have been skipped on child often, where I had to stay up at night eating toothpaste and toilet paper because the staff refused to feed me because I stood up for my rights. The institution have DR 504s, that's the rules of the Illinois Department of Correction, and you have policies that each prison have in the Illinois Department of Correction, and you have a right to file agreements. But they take that away from you because if you file agreements, you're afraid that you're gonna be retaliated against, and it does happen. The IDOC needs to be looked at real hard, and changes need to be made. But we talking about Menard specifically today, which I've been there. It's 100 degrees out here. It's like 150 degrees in Menard. This is the cell. This is the cell. This is how big, wide the cell is. And you have 2 beds this low, where the person at the bottom, he can't sit straight up. He always got to lay down. So you have 2 people in this cell. And I'm just gonna keep it real with y'all because this is serious. While you in your bunk in this heat, which I've been there, behind a steel door with no window, no electricity, no water, and the heat she talking about, I mean the air, they open this door at the end of the gallery and put one of them big fans in this room and cut it on. So the air shoot through the back of the unit, and you be lucky if the air come through the little hole they bust out so you can get air. I sat in my cell many nights with my sheet thinking about killing myself. And the only reason why I didn't kill myself because I promised my grandmother that I would never try to kill myself again, because I tried when I was 15 years old in a juvenile detention center, and I seen my grandmother going home crying, and I said, I can't put her through this no more. So I say I was gonna end my life, but the ceiling couldn't hold my weight, and I fell, and she said, baby, promise me, and I promised her. But I wonder if these mothers' son promised them that they would never kill themselves, because it's real in there. People are dying in there. People are being killed in there by the staff. They will hang you and say you hung yourself. I'm not just making this up. I was there. I can't sleep at night because I'm afraid that I'm gonna wake up back in that place. I cannot sleep. It's crazy. And seeing these mothers out here, I didn't have my mother fighting for me. I didn't have nobody out there fighting for me. I was fighting for myself because I felt like every time God woke me up, he said, you got this. And that's what he's telling us now. Every time we wake up, we got this. And I walked out that hellhole, and I left a lot of my brothers there, my family there. Them brothers in there are my family because I woke up each day with them. When I didn't eat, my neighbor passed me a noodle because the police didn't feed me. Our sons and our family members are dying in prison, man, and it should be more mothers and family members filling up these places because they sons and family in there.
That's right. That's right.
Come on.
That's right.
Frank and Bishop shouldn't have to organize this. This should have been going on.
Well, like we said, this is something that you all have to stand up and act.
Most definitely.
We see sisters there with shirts on out here in the audience. We know that you all are listening. We want you to contact us here at Push with the rest of your questions, because this panel is humanizing what we talked about in all policies that we've been talking about all day. So I do have another mother here that is going to share how you can contact, how you can be a part of the movement, and that you can be a part of this process. Ms. Cassandra? Ms. Cassandra Greer? Is she?
I'm taking her place.
Okay.
I emailed everybody, I'm sorry. Cassandra couldn't be here because Cassandra is part of the Mothers of Justice as well, and her husband died in prison. He died at the DLC, Department of Corrections on 26th in California, Cook County, by the hands of Tom Dart during COVID. They would not send him to the hospital, and Lori Lightfoot sent an email to Tom Dart to say, it's okay. They don't have to go to the hospital, let him die, and they died. Wow. This cold-blooded. So be careful who you vote for on the 28th. Be careful, do your due diligence. These people's names that you don't recognize on the ballot, Google them and link them, look for them. So I'm saying that to say, for your support, we asked any event that we have with Rainbow Push, Bishop Grant, and Frank Chapman, Adolfo, the Mothers of Justice. We're on Facebook. We're constantly speaking out for our loved ones. And we're speaking out because we know the truth. We were wrongfully convicted, and overly sentenced. So we ask that you email, you write letters, you make phone calls, sign our petitions when you see them on Facebook, or you get these emails. Just sign, just click. That's all. That's it. And just join to action. I want to put it out there, and I'm going to say this, and I know time is of the essence, but the director of the IDOC, Rod Jeffries, is the cause of these issues. He's the director of the Illinois Department of Corrections in the state of Illinois. He know what's going on. He know the people that's dying. He hear us. We've had 2 meetings with him on a summit with Rainbow Push, with Grant, Reverend Grant, on the 4th of June and the 11th. He said he was coming, didn't show the day of. He don't want to see us. He don't want this smoke. And this smoke means our mouth. Yeah, amen. For what's going on, the inhumane conditions. I'm going to pass the mic to my sister Janelle Charles. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My son was Michael Andrew Jefferson, inmate R71023. My son died in Menard Correctional Center, July 11, 2017. His autopsy said that it was heart dysrhythmia, electrolyte imbalance. He drank too much water. Why did he drink too much water? Because it was hot. My baby was 27 and healthy. There was nothing wrong with him other than him being bipolar. He was not in jail for murder, and even if he was still a human being. He had no business in Menard, and instead of you giving him the mental health that he needed, they placed him in maximum prisons. He died alone in a cell in segregation. He was considered SMI. They told me they checked on him every 30 minutes. If you did, how did I get a decomposed body? My son was unrecognizable. I knew it was my son because a mother is going to know her child regardless, but
Amen. That's true.
The conditions there are horrible. It was, the day he died, it was over 90 degrees. There's an inmate that wrote out, he said that for days, Michael complained about being hot. And he said he didn't have a fan and that the cold water in the cell didn't work. Apparently this guard got tired of him. They passed a few words back and forth. A few hours later, he came back, about 5 other guards. They went in the cell on him. They sprayed him with pepper spray and shut the door. You put him in a gas chamber and he was already hot. These people are animals. My baby didn't deserve that. He was a beautiful person. He just had some issues he had to deal with. He just didn't know how. And I didn't know how to help him.
This is a crusade for human rights. Brother Frank Chapman, who is an organizer, who is an educator, has a phenomenal book out, is our closing panelist speaker. Frank, what are the next steps? What are our list of demands, and where do we go from here? Somebody give him a mic.
Well, first of all, testing. Mic check. There's a lot of pain on this stage. A lot of pain in our community. A lot of pain in this country. And it didn't just start with these families. I was in jail in 1961, at the age of 19. Life and 50-year sentence I had. A lot of the torture that you're talking about here, I went through myself. Solitary confinement, beaten by 13 guards, had 3 ribs broke, both of my wrists broke, and I still got arthritis in my spine because of a fractured spine. That's why I do the cane. So I can unite with the pain because I've been through it. But I learned one thing while I was in prison. And the reason why I learned it is because there were people outside of the prison like Bishop Grant, like Angela Davis, and other people who were fighting to help me get out of there. I had a life of 50 years. I didn't think I was ever going to get out. But here I am, sitting right here. So I want to talk about the power of the movement. Talk about the power of the movement quickly before I talk about what we need to do. Because if you don't understand the power of the movement, then you don't understand why you're doing what we're asking you to do. First of all, I want to share my perspective with you. I think it's a very serious mistake to think of prison reform as something that can happen independent of the criminal justice system. I don't believe the system is broke. I don't believe we're just dealing with brutal guards, complicit administrators, and corrupt politicians. I believe the criminal justice system was built. I believe the problems we face at Menard and throughout the Illinois Department of Corrections are inevitably the result of policies created by the Nixon administration in the late 60s and completed by Clinton administration in 1994. From the time that Nixon created the war on drugs as a war cry against the Black community to President Clinton's draconian omnibus crime bill, the U.S. prisons and jail system population has stabilized at about 400,000. Today, because of mass incarceration brought about by the war on drugs and the criminalization of Black and brown communities, this population has increased to about 4 million. From 400,000 to 4 million. What I'm saying to you is that all the suffering and misery we are witnessing in Menard, the blatant murder of prisoners in Cook County Jail, systematic torture of Black and brown people, all this here is a result of certain government policies, which we must change. It's a systemic disorder. It's a systemic problem. If you don't see that, then all you see is your misery. You can't see the path to victory. We got to change this system. So we're asking you to sign our petitions. We ask you to take our literature. We ask you to join our organizations. We ask you to participate in this fight to change the present system of criminal justice, which is not about justice at all. Not about, now if you're not doing it for that, then what are you doing it for? We got to change the system. Otherwise, more people will die, more people will suffer, and this is going to just go on and on and on, and it'll be just one miserable story after another. We've got to change this system. So join us, get involved with the National Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression, get involved with PUSH, sign our petitions. We got a table out there. Do everything that these mothers have asked you to do. We're with them 1,000%. But we know that nothing changes if nothing changes. If we don't change this system that is doing this to these people and doing this to our people, doing this to us, then it's going to keep on going on. So I'm asking you to get engaged, to get involved. What's next? That's what's next. Go out there to that table, sign that petition, get involved. When we call, you respond. Come to a protest, come to a demonstration, because this ain't gonna end today. And I got one final word, if I may, Bishop Grant. We're not responsible for our oppression. We're responsible for our liberation.
Brother Frank Chapman, I want you to stand on your feet and give these panelists a round of applause all over this room. This has been a journey for justice. Come on, everybody. I am Bishop Tavis Grant on behalf of Reverend Jesse Jackson and our national staff. I want to thank you. Our closing remarks will come from Sister Kalana Gail Scott. Let's give it up. Stay on your feet. Stand on your feet. This session is closing.
As we close today, thank you for coming. We thank you, mothers and sisters and family members, for speaking up. This is not a process. This is us. This is our people. Injustice to one person means it's happening to all of us. So we really need you all to get on board and be a part of the movement, as he just said. Thank you once again for coming, and please be safe as you go home.
Thank you.